Hello, thank you for watching my story. This video is made anonymously to protect the traditions of anonymity correlated with the group that helped me get well. This video is posted anonymously as a public service announcement. The channel and the channel owner that have graciously allowed me to post my story here do not endorse this video nor its contents. Neither does this video endorse the channel, its owner, or the contents of the channel, or the videos. My story is posted here to help those who need help, who are looking for solutions the way I was looking for solutions. My story is one of great hope. It has been 11 years since I last battled the eating disorder symptoms of binging, compulsive eating, purging, over-exercising, restricting, anorexic type behaviors, bulimic type behaviors, compulsive eating behaviors. I have been free for 11 years. There is great hope and always a solution. When I first found the solution, I reached out in a moment of desperation because I had continued to binge on things that I had exercised great control to measure out and restrict and try to follow a food plan that had helped many others. I was at the time very desperate because I had tried many food plans, many diets, many groups, many books, many programs, and what seemed to work for others, I was not at the time having success with. I had tried to commit suicide, but God wouldn't let me. He saved me from the hopelessness of hating my life and hating the cycle of continuing to do the very things that I knew were destroying me. He saved me out of His grace and led me to people who could help me, finally. There was a program that was different than everything I had tried before. It was called Primary Purpose and was based on principles that were simple and easy to follow and helped me clean up the spiritual mess in my life that had blocked me from God and blocked me from other people and blocked me from spiritual peace and led to symptoms of compulsive eating, binging, purging, overexercise, etc. The spiritual peace I sought, I didn't know at the time, was what I sought. I really only wanted to lose weight and stop binging and stop being out of control and stop breaking every resolution and decision that I had continually made and stop pulling into drive-thrus and binging on fast food and gas station food and grocery store food and stop feeling ashamed of the humongous purchase of junk food as the grocery store cashier looked at it. Stop feeling guilt, stop feeling shame. I wanted to have a normal life. I wanted to stop feeling out of control at Super Bowl parties and potlucks and salad bars where I had felt that I couldn't stop going back for more and where I had felt awkward and out of place and unable to have fellowship with people because my mind was so preoccupied with the food and getting more of it. I wanted to stop having those out of control thoughts and actions. I wanted to have a life that was normal, where I could eat normally like other people and stop when I was full, instead of compulsively finishing everything on my plate and on the table and the leftovers in the fridge that I had tried to put away for later, but ended up eating container after container of the leftovers that were supposed to be saved for the next few days. I wanted to stop the out-of-control things like pulling food that I had trashed out of the trash can to go ahead and eat it. I wanted to stop making late-night drives out of control and feeling taken over to drive somewhere and buy food that I could open up the package, rip through the package and shove the food down my throat without even tasting it, just because I was driven. I wanted to stop that. I wanted to stop eating and eating and eating until I was so bloated and full that I couldn't move and I couldn't roll over, and I felt sick and guilty and ashamed, and I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to stop the ways that I kept doing the very things I hated and then substituting other addictions because I was trying so hard not to use my primary addiction, but what I really needed was spiritual peace and spiritual answers, spiritual solutions, instead of substituting other addictions. I needed God to save me, but I had cried out to God so many times. And in that place of addiction and brokenness and darkness spiritually, I felt like I couldn't hear from God. I felt so blocked from God that all I could hear was the voices of hopelessness and despair and self-hate. But God saved me anyway out of His great grace. He gave me the perseverance to keep on looking, to keep on trying, and to get to the bottom of myself, where I actually asked for help from someone that I was so afraid of what she might ask me to do, so afraid of her hearing all the things that I was so ashamed of, so afraid of feeling rejected and that I wouldn't meet their approval, so afraid to come out of hiding. But I wanted to stop stealing money that wasn't mine to binge. I wanted to stop the dishonesty. I wanted to stop the out-of-control behaviors that were forcing my husband to lock the cabinets so that I wouldn't eat all the food in the house. And I wanted to stop the behaviors where I would use any means to break into those cabinets that were locked because I couldn't control myself. I wanted to stop raging at my husband when he tried to get me to take care of my health and stop eating the things that were affecting my health in such horrible ways. I wanted help, and yet the very thing that was driving me did not want me to get help. I was conflicted, but when I got to that place of desperation and I called the person I was so scared of for help, she had a story very similar to mine, and yet she sounded free. She sounded happy. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to stop being depressed. I wanted to stop being suicidally depressed. I wanted to have joy in my life. At the time, I didn't think it was possible. I heard this woman, and I didn't think it would work for me because I had tried so many other things that didn't work for me, that seemed to work for other people. But because I was desperate, and I was in the middle of binging on something that was so not exciting, it was frozen grains that I had put away to eat for the next few weeks, and I was binging on them, frozen, and couldn't stop. Grains. I felt like something was really wrong, and I finally was willing to ask for help. And what she told me was actually very hopeful, and though I didn't really believe at the time that it could actually help me, I was willing to give it a shot, and that's all it took, was a little bit of hope that possibly, maybe something that she told me to do could possibly do something. But guess what? It was the solution. It saved my life, saved my sanity, and brought me spiritual peace, and completely turned my life around to where I no longer had to struggle with all of that stuff. It was no longer a fight. I wasn't spending my days in recovery meetings trying to fight the thoughts in my head. I was no longer spending my days trying to use every recovery tool possible to not eat. I was no longer fighting the things calling to me from the cabinets. I was free. I was finally free. And all it took was a few days of really hard work, initially, and then months of learning a new way of living, really working hard to make this thing happen. But the hard work was not fighting the food. The hard work was being honest with myself, rigorously honest with myself, with God, and with this woman who was willing to spend her time to help me get free from this thing that was trying to kill me. We spent some time inventorying my life spiritually. I got with God and I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote. And then I talked with this woman, and I shared with her what I had written. And she loved me. We prayed together. We asked God to remove that awful stuff from my life and to help me change and live differently. And then I set about the hard work of going to the people in my life that I had hated or felt fearful of or resentful at, and making things right, apologizing, and letting them know that I was living a new way of life now, and I was going to try to live unselfishly now. And then I learned to spend my mornings asking God what He wanted and not what I wanted, and to go through the day asking God for the next step instead of just going based on what I thought or my old habits. And learning that if I started to walk into the kitchen, or I was standing holding the refrigerator door open or a cabinet door open, that it was a signal to me that something was possibly spiritually wrong that I needed to ask God to help me with. And I learned to ask God to show me what was going on and what to do about it, to remove anything that was not from Him to show me what to do, to show me who I needed to apologize to, and then turn my thoughts to serving God and loving other people. I learned to seek God in prayer and listening to God and asking Him what I could do differently the next day that would be less selfish, that would be more of what He wanted. And then I learned to spend my life looking to serve, looking to help others who needed to get free, who were looking for a solution, to stop focusing on myself, to stop thinking about me all the time and start thinking about God and His children, and seeking to be of service to this world, seeking what I could bring to the occasion, seeking how I could bless others. And I asked God how to feed my body in an unselfish way, and He led me to a raw food diet that has been very healing for me and also helped to get rid of the cravings because I was finally getting nutrients in instead of eating food selfishly that had no nutrients, only empty calories. The place where I found help was a group called Primary Purpose. There are many variations of this group. The one that I found help from was based on the Dallas Primary Purpose group, for which there are groups for many addictions. The one that I was a part of was very hardcore for those struggling with eating addictions because we had to learn to eat in a way that was unselfish and to be very rigorous about the spiritual things in our lives. It was a spiritual solution. I no longer had to fight thoughts of death or insanity. I had only to choose God's way instead. If you are wanting a solution, I would encourage you to reach out for help to members of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group or primary purpose groups dealing with food such as OA Primary Purpose or Primary Purpose Group of OA. There are other groups that are similar. We made use of a textbook called the Big Book, and in there the instructions were simple. It was a simple new way of living that helped to turn my life around. Since then I have grown tremendously spiritually, but that was the beginning of my journey. I spent many hours, many days, and a couple of years faithfully serving in the group, leading meetings, helping take others through the process of recovery, reaching out wherever I went, looking for those who were still suffering to help them find the solution. God has since led me elsewhere to continue to seek to serve Him and love others and help them find solutions and help in recovery and freedom in new ways. To be released from chains of addiction and slavery and oppression to spirits that are not from God. But it started with getting rid of the selfishness and the ways of doing things that had not been working for me, to try to cope that was actually not coping at all. It was stuffing and repressing my emotions in ways that were not healthy, that were prolonging my own suffering. God led me to Primary Purpose and set me free with a simple spiritual solution. Not everyone there is a Christian or any other religion. It's not about religion. It's a spiritual program of action that works for anyone who is willing to get honest and to ask God what to do and obey God. I would highly recommend to anyone who is searching for hope to check out the Primary Purpose groups and find hope and solutions that you have been seeking for so long. May God richly bless you. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to share this story if you feel led. Goodbye.